Students, I hope the whole chapter what you have learned in reproduction is useful to you, and I hope you will make use of that. Okay. So let us begin with one fresh chapter on a fresh day. Okay. So I hope you are all doing well and making utilization of this time, which is a lockdown time, which is actually a boon for you, so that you can plan your work and continuously work and take little rest also. Mind games, this is studies, and other activities also you follow and be active. And if at all possible, at home you just do certain exercises and all. Do some pranayama, be healthy. Okay? So let's begin with the new unit, that is principles of inheritance. So what is the principles of inheritance? So let us start with the basic introduction. What is this? Actually it comes under the heading genetics. So genetics is the study of heredity and variations. So it comes under the unit that is genetics. So it is the study of heredity and variations. So what is then heredity? So the concept of heredity was not studied or understood for a long time. Although the whole big story of the evolution, origin of life was brought, and it was very popular, given by Darwin, that is origin of species by natural selection, was very popular. But during then, there is they are not mentioned how exactly the inheritance has happened. Means the characters are transferred from parents to offspring. In what way they are not mentioned. Just they are said the characters are the new characters originated by the nature's selection. That's by Darwin. But imagine at the same time when Darwin was the most popular person in the scientific world, there was a person named John Gregor Mendel who was there in Austria. He was the first person to bring the word inheritance. Right? So heredity is the first thing which was introduced by him. So how do you define heredity? Heredity can be defined as the tendency of offsprings to resemble their parents. Means any child, if it resembles one or the other way to both of their parents, that is called a hereditary feature. You can also observe yourself or your brothers or sisters. Most of them, they have some similar characters of their parents, right? Those are called hereditary characters. Maybe the color, maybe the hair texture, maybe the height. Some of them they are carrying from their parents. These features are called hereditary characters. The tendency, you have to write the definition. The tendency of offsprings to resemble their parents is called heredity. Now, what are variations? So heredity just now I defined. What is variation? And now you can relate it with the previous thing what we spoke about, the reproduction. Whenever there is sexual reproduction, the offsprings produced are not similar exactly to their parents. There are some variations, some changes are there. Because the two different genes will combine through sperm and the egg when they are fertilizing. That time some characters will inherit, some characters will be new. Right? Those are called new characters, are called the variations. The differences between the parents and their offsprings are called variations. Right? Now, variations, how do they get it? Some of them are birth variations. Means by birth only they will have certain characters, not maybe the parental characters are not brought. But some variations are due to the environment. Environmental variations we call it. Means environmental changes, like after the baby is born, and if it will work out very nicely and all, it becomes highly muscular, very tall and all, that it becomes a variation due to environment, the practices. Therefore, heredity and variations go hand in hand. Right? So this is our explanation. But now I would like to give you the explanation given by John Gregor Mendel about the inheritance. So as I told you, scientist Darwin was very popular in whole of Europe by his new theory what he gave, that was the theory of origin of species by natural selection during evolution. But he never ever mentioned that characters are inherited from the parents to the offspring. Why do they resemble the parents? Nothing he explained. At the same time, as I just now mentioned you, there was a person named John Gregor Mendel. He was a very, very ordinary person who was in Austria. Austria, name you remember, not Australia, it is Austria. Actually, that Austria was there during that time, right? Right now, there is no Austria named one place. It is something else is called Austria now. Later, it was renamed as Czechoslovakia. Then afterwards, that Czechoslovakia is again splitting into Yugoslavia, Czech Republic and all. Right? Now I am not going to that detail. Now we will talk about only during that period when Mendel was present in a place called Austria. In that area, he was just a school teacher. Right? Why I am explaining you about him? Why I want to mention about his name? Because he was the person who was very ordinary, a school teacher, and he studied his degree or graduation from Vienna University. Vienna University, his graduation. After that he became a school teacher. Afterwards he was promoted as a monk in a monastery. Monk in a monastery. Monastery is something like a Buddhist church-like thing, Buddhist temple-like thing. In that he was promoted as a monk in the monastery. The thing is, he was so much curious about the nature that he wanted to learn why the plants he has in his monastery garden, mainly pea plants, are showing a lot of variation. It was his curiosity that brought the word inheritance. Right? He was the first person to think in that way. Right? Always scientists are not by birth only they become scientists. No. By their thinking, their curiosity, their application of mind can bring them to scientific world. So, this person, John Gregor Mendel, in his monastery garden, he was growing some plants, namely pea plants. This is only for his regular food, right? Pea plant, we call this as Pisum sativum. That's a biological botanical name of this. Pisum sativum is the name of the plant. Pea plant, that's called the regular pea, what you have, pea plants, right? Then he found that although he got the seeds from the single farmer, and although he is growing almost they look same, he was growing in different lines, but he was observing lot of variations. Why are these variations? Was his own question, right? Most of you people also get question. Most of the time what happens is you immediately try to get the answer by asking somebody, but he started thinking. What he did was, although all the seeds look alike, I got it from the same farmer, why there is so many variations? So many variations are why and how are they produced? Some were having violet flowers, some were having white flowers, some were having tall stem, some were short stem. So all these variations put him into a big question mark. What is this variation? Then he started studying the reproduction in flowering plants. As you already know, they undergo self and cross-pollination. Right? Then he came to one conclusion that plants that transfer their pollen grain to the stigma of its same self-pollination, then the characters become homozygous. Means same characters will be concentrated. But if the pollen grain of one flower falls in the stigma of another flower during cross-pollination, characters will vary. That's how he identified that there may be a self-pollination, there is a cross-pollination. Right? So now he wanted to take one plant which has a single character. Otherwise, suppose he took the plant with the violet purple flower of the pea plant, crossed with the white flower of the pea plant, he was supposed to, he was expecting all the type of flowers, but there was a lot of mixture happening. So he started he wanted to start the experiment on his own by making every character pure for its parent. Means suppose violet flowered plant or a purple flower plant you grow, the seeds you take and grow, all the flowers produced should be only violet flowered. White flowered plant seeds you collect and grow, all should be white flowered plants. That's why he found that this way it can happen only when if you allow them for multiple cell pollinations, right? And this character he started naming his own terminology, giving his own terms he gave, right? What are those terms? Terminologies he used for explaining it. Terms, I just give you terminology given by Mendel. First one, he says characters can produce their same character in the organisms or the plants producing the same type of offsprings in future. They were named by him as pure breeding. They breed pure or true breeding plants. So what are pure breeding plants? The plants that will produce their same character in their all offsprings. Means violet flowered plant or the purple flower plant, you allow them for cell pollination, then it will produce all same purple flower plants. So we call them as pure breeding plants. And in such plants, those plants he can collect them and can make them as a parental generation. Means the purple flower plant one he took and took the white flower, again allowed them for cell pollination and got the two parents. One is purple flowered plant, one is a white flowered plant. He called them as the pure breeding plants. They breed pure, breed true for their character. Okay. Now, so with this background, I'll give you all the introduction about the experiments and these terms. So first one, what I told you, the plants will be made pure breeding by allowing them for multiple cell pollination. Right? Cell pollination, you must be knowing, transferring the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. He allowed them for cell pollination. Okay, fine. So what he wanted now is, he wanted to cross breed or cross pollinate to understand. Just it's a curiosity, not to become something, do some big discoveries. Just by his curiosity, he wanted to know, let me cross the purple flower plant with the white flower plant, what are the offsprings? Okay, this is what he started. But the basic character I will give you in pea plant, and he was very intelligent by selecting one character at a time in a contrasting way. Means color means one character. It's two contrasting features, purple and white. One character only into contrasting features. So that is how he was successful, because he never mixed up the 2-3 characters at a time. Right? Only one character he considered. So therefore he took first character as the color character. Before that he actually started with the height of the plant. Right? In height of the plant, just what I am giving you, terms used by Mendel. So one already I told you, pure breeding plants, right? So what are the pure breeding plants? I told you, by self-pollinating for many generations, you can make the plant to produce the same character in its offspring. It's called the pure breeding plant or pure line character. Okay. Now, how do you cross-pollinate for such parents? So one example I'll give you. What he did was, he took the character, first character I told you, pure breeding ones, he called as the P1 generation. What is P1 generation? It is a parental generation. Okay, he took the parental generation as a P1 generation. How are the plants? The parental generation plants will be pure breeding, and he took two contrasting features. First I will start with the height character. Okay, height in pea plants. So in the P1 generation, first he took the height character and he crossed the tall plant around almost 6 feet in height, crossed it with the dwarf plant around 3 feet in height. Right? These two he crossed. How did he cross? Very simple experiment, you already know. Imagine pea plant also, it will be bisexual, right? You know the bisexual plant is pea plant. Here is the anther, here is the gynoecium. Okay? This is one pea plant. This is another one. I am giving you A and B. Okay? This is A plant, this is B plant. What is A plant, B plant? This is the tall plant and this is the dwarf plant. Imagine. Okay. Now, for cross pollination, he was the first person to say that to avoid self pollination, you should cut and remove the anthers. So, from though the plant where he selected because it's a bisexual plant, right? Okay, it's a bisexual plant. In this dwarf plant, if you want to take it as a female parent, what you have to do is you have to cut and remove the stamens. Okay, and then you then take the pollen grains with the help of a brush. Means a small brush you take. Okay, this brush and collect the pollen grains from the tall plant, any vice versa is okay, and dust them on the stigma of the dwarf plant. Here are the ovules, right? After dusting, you take one bag and put them on this. This is called the bagging. What is the first thing called? It was called emasculation. He did emasculation. What is emasculation? It is cutting and removing the stamens from a bisexual flower to avoid self-pollination. After that, he did artificial cross-pollination by taking the pollen grain from one parental plant and dusting it on the stigma of another one by cross-pollination. And after that, he bagged it to avoid any other pollen grains contaminating this particular flower. Right? Now, emasculation was done, then bagging was done. So, these were techniques developed by John Gregor Mendel. Okay? Now, what happened is P1 generation, he did the cross-pollination like this, and tall and dwarf you are crossing, you get the first generation. These are all P1 generation, right? Then first generation he called it the F1 generation. We call F1 generation as first filial generation. First filial generation. We call it as F1, right? So in F1 what he was expecting, very natural, that tall and dwarf plants are crossing, we are going to produce, it should produce some mixture of tall and dwarf plants. Some plants should be tall, some should be dwarf, but it did not happen. What happened was, only tall plants were produced and dwarf plants were not there. In first generation, there were no dwarf plants produced at all. This was surprising result from him, because he was thinking that some plants should be tall, some should be dwarf. But he found all tall plants and not even one dwarf plant produced. And he was wondering, he thought that maybe tall plant character has masked or almost killed the dwarf character. But now you understand, he allowed these F1 plants for self-pollination. Selfing is nothing but self-pollination. Then he found, after that second generation, F2 generation, he found that some plants were tall, some plants were dwarf. So this was surprising result from him. For him, F1 all were tall, F2 some were tall, some were dwarf. How do you analyze this? He analyzed in a very beautiful manner. What he did is, tall and dwarf, fine, I am crossing. But first generation, tall is unable to express. Tall is only expressing, dwarf is unable to express. But when you take the F1 plants and self-pollinate, you get some tall plant, some dwarf plant, indicating this tall plant had dwarf character within it, but the dwarf was unable to express, or it was totally masked by the tall character. And then again it was produced in the next generation. Therefore, he called this character which is expressed as a dominant character, the one which gets suppressed as a recessive character. Understand? So the plant, the character that was expressed in F1, it was called as the dominant character. The one which was suppressed was called as a recessive character. Right? Now, he studied the details of this. Means why the star is unable to, the dwarf is unable to express in F1. He worked out what might have happened. So he himself identified the meaning of this. What he said is, whatever they look like, they are not internally the same. Means the plant which looks tall also, it is not internally totally 100% tall. Right? It may have some dwarf character in it. and he calls that internal thing which will help in expressing a character as the genotype. See the words I am writing. Genotype is nothing but the genetic makeup of an organism responsible for its appearance. Right? Then, what is appearance called? It is called as a phenotype. Means, what you are observing, a tall plant, it is a phenotype. But genetically, it is not 100% tall. It has some genes of or the characters of dwarf also. So genetically or genotypically, this is not pure tall. But this is pure tall, because if you allow this for cell pollination, it produces all tall plants, because it has become pure breeding. But this tall plant will produce tall and dwarf. So to give the explanation purpose, he gave another way of expressing the genotype. Right now I told you genotype is something that helps in the production of particular appearance, phenotype. Now for the genotype, he himself assigned certain alphabets, right? So what he assigned for tall character was capital T. So let me write this again. In P1 generation, what all I am writing you have to follow properly. P1 generation, first thing what he took was pure breeding tall plant as a phenotype. Tall plant he took, crossed it with the dwarf plant. Okay? Right? Now, this tall plant he assigned with the certain, what I told you, certain alphabets. He called that as the genotype. Right? Take this properly, because this is a very important chapter for you, because it's like mathematics, you'll get for each step some marks. Right? It's not just descriptive, it is technical chapter. Right? So genetically, this tall was considered as a capital T for him. This is the genes of genetic character of tallness. But any plant you think, they are the vegetative parts, right? I am talking just a plant. Then it should have diploid condition, therefore you should write two capital T's. Capital T is the genotype of tall plant, which is pure breeding. Then he crossed with the dwarf plant. I told you dwarf plant is unable to express in F1 hybrids, F1 generation. Therefore, he took its smaller alphabet as a dwarf character genotype, small t and small t. Why to write two times? Because it is a diploid condition. Again and again I am stressing this, because maximum students make mistake in writing the genotypes only. So genotype first he took as a capital T for tallness, small t for tallness. But while writing the genotype of the plant, he considered two times, capital T, because it's a diploid plant. These are two diploid, small t, and you should not consider it D here. No. T is dominant, capital T, and its recessive character should be small t only. Now, this undergo meiosis during the gamete formation. You all already know that they undergo meiosis, reductional cell division. So that is the gametic generation or G generation. I like that G generation. G generation is nothing but the gametic generation. The P1 generation is the gametic generation. What happens in this? There will be reductional division. Chromosome number reduces to half. So there is a meiosis happening. Remember. Therefore, the two T's become single T. Only one capital T here and only one small t. It doesn't mean the only one gamete are there. Like one type of gametes are there. Capital T, maybe thousands of pollen grains or the eggs are there. Small t also thousands and millions of such eggs or pollen grains are there. Right? Vice versa means anything you take male or anything you take female, same results we are achieving. Therefore, I am not mentioning much about the male and female parents. Now, whenever you are writing the gametes, you need to circle them, encircle the gamete. This is the rule given by John Gregor Mendel. So, as Mendel has done all this at the beginning, and whatever he has done was so perfect. Remember, the problem I tell you, he has done wonderfully well, but he could not reach the scientific people over there who are having big names. Although he published, it was not popularized. Therefore, his work of hybridization experiments in pea was waste during his lifetime. His work was not accepted at all. Nobody understood what he has done. Right? That's the reason why Mendel died without getting recognized. But you remember one thing, after 30 years of his death, when science was progressing, everything was analyzed, every scientific innovations were done. At that time, there were some scientists who identified the Mendel's work which was done 30 years back, and they were wondering how beautifully the work was done by him, and therefore they gave the whole work as a Mendelian inheritance or Mendelism. Mendelism refers to Mendelian inheritance, and those scientists till today they are recognized because they 100% gave the whole credit to Mendel. Until now we call Mendel only as the father of genetics because he has done all this. First I am explaining you these things, again and again in between I will tell you some history or other stories about the concern with Mendelism. Now what I said, during gametic generation, parental genes undergo reductional division, you will get haploid condition. 2 T's, 1 T, 1 T you are writing. There may not be 2 T's, 1 more T you should not write. Right? Some books also they are given mentioning, just go through any type of the Google search and all, there you can understand only 1 T means one type of gametes only are produced, millions may be there. Right? Now, fertilization happens, suppose this is the pollen grain, this is the egg, they undergo fertilization and they produce first generation with capital T, small t as a genotype. This is called F1 generation. This F1 generation, it's what I have written is its genotype it is. Genotype is capital T, small t. What about its appearance? Its phenotype, when you learn, this particular character will be showing, what is that? Tall character because of the presence of capital T. Phenotype is capital T, the tall plant, but genotype is capital T, small t. This is the first generation, F1 generation, showing tallness because it is dominant over darkness. Right? That's a major thing. And first you just have to write till here, then we'll continue it later. Right? Here what you do is F1, I'll write it slightly above so that you will get it easily outright. F1 generation. F1 generation, what I have written first thing is generation, it is the genotype of F1. This is the phenotype of F1. Right? Till here, be perfect, and this is your homework. Right? Their terms and their names and their meanings. Okay? Whatever in the board, just write it down and copy it down. Right? You should copy it down. You cannot just read it. You have to write it. Okay? So I want you to copy it right now. So I hope you have done it. You have copied this. This is about the up to F1 generation everything. Now what to do for the second generation, right? So now one more terminology I will give you what Mendel gave. This parent which was pure breeding tall, having same alleles, right? He called this as the homozygous parent. Again I am seeing you some terms given by Mendel, right? Homozygous character. What is homozygous character? It is a character in which the two alleles, these were called the alleles, are same in a pure breeding plant, right? If they are different, it is called as a heterozygous character. Now another word I told you, alleles. One more word I will give you, that is the unit character. These are the given terms by Mendel. So what he explained, that the appearance of a character, phenotype, is because of their genotype. Genotype will decide what should be the phenotype, right? Therefore, he said that characters are controlled by something called unit factor. Unit factor. Factor is something like gene it is. In recent terms, we call this as the gene. Right? Unit factor is the single gene that controls the expression of a character. Always we look like this because of our genes or genetic character inside. Right? Therefore, unit factor was first used by Mendel, which actually means genes in a modern terminology. He said that every character is expressed because of the unit factor. Unit factor controls the expression of every character. Then, one more thing he explained is every unit factor has two alleles. You can see here, alleles, or we call it the pair of alleles. The unit factor or the gene is expressed in two forms called as alleles. Right? Always the alleles will be two, that is in vegetative structures. We call that as diploid condition in a modern term, I told you. But during his period, he said that there are pairs of alleles for each unit factor. For each character, there will be a unit factor. Unit factor has two forms called alleles. And if the two alleles are similar, they are called the homozygous alleles. Homozygous character. This is homozygous. How are they produced? They are produced by multiple cell pollination. Means continuously you are allowing one plant to undergo cell pollination, cell pollination, continuously do that. Then after that you get the seeds which are pure for their character, and that means they are pure lines. They are homozygous. This is what I am saying. Phenotype of the parents both are homozygous. This is homozygous allele. Therefore I told you first homozygous. Now you can see this is also tall, this is also tall. But what is the difference? This tall plant has alleles similar to each other. But this tall plant has different alleles. Right? This is a hybrid plant. Right? This tall is a hybrid plant. Hybrid is mixture of both the characters. Normally, according to Mendel, the hybrids will be superior to their parents. That's what another term I am giving you. Its name is heterosis. Heterosis is the ability of the hybrid to be superior over their parents. It's called heterosis, or we also call this as the hybrid vigor. Hybrid vigor also is the same thing. Hybrid vigor is the heterosis. So whenever you get F1 generation, this show heterosis or hybrid vigor. Now one more thing, this plant, if it is tall, this is also tall. Looking at that, you can't identify whether this tall is hybrid, this tall is purebred. You can't identify. They look same way. How do we identify? Because here, if you allow this for cell pollination, it is going to produce all tall plants only. But this you allow it for cell pollination, what will happen? That I will write now. F1 plants on cell pollination. What will happen? Right? Here we are crossing F1 with the F1. Means F1 is a male, F1 is female. So what is the phenotype of F1? I told you already. Phenotype, this we are going to separate it. So F1 phenotype. What is the phenotype? Tall plant. Okay? I have written F1 plant, tall plant. This is a tall plant. What is the female parent you are taking? Again F1 only. You are selfing them. You are writing cell pollination. This is also tall. Okay? Whenever you write its genotype, then you know that you are writing F1 hybrids. Don't take this genotype now, you take this genotype. That is hybrid or the heterozygous genotype. Genotype will be capital T small t and capital T small t. I hope you understood now. Homozygous when you write, only when they are parental generation, they are pure breeding, you take capital T, small t, small t. But whenever you are writing hybrids, then you are going to take the heterozygous genotype. The two alleles are different from each other. Right. Now, the next is gametic generation. G generation. I told you, whenever you write generation gametic, you have to circle them. Right. Now, the question is, this gamete produced by one parent and these gametes produced by another parent are of two types. Because the two alleles are different, right? Whenever hybrid plants undergo gamete formation, because of heterozygosity, their alleles undergo separation or segregation. Therefore, this will produce two types of gametes, capital T 50%, small t 50%. Same way, this will produce capital T 50%, small t 50%. This is nothing but the first law of Mendel. It is named as law of segregation. What is segregation? To separate. So this is because of the law of segregation. What is law of segregation? Stated. How it is stated? Whenever a hybrid plant produces the gametes, due to their heterozygosity of alleles, the two alleles separate, the two alleles segregate. This is law of segregation. But here you can see they are all tall only. In this tall plant, the two tall and dwarf genotypes are there, but they are not showing their expression. But during gamete formation, they separate off. Therefore, this law is also named as law of purity of gametes. Understand this? Law of purity of gametes is the another name of law of segregation. Now, these two alleles fertilize these two alleles in every respected combination. Okay, this I will give you in the form of a square board, or we call the checkerboard. So till here you copy now. Now I will have to write the checkerboard now, right? Because I am going to erase this. Then only I will be able to write this. Okay. So just write down the F1 up to law of segregation, separation, law of purity of gametes. Till there you write. Then we will write how do they undergo fertilization. Okay. I hope you have done it. Let me give you how exactly they undergo combination. Okay. So in F2, how will be F2 generation? See, I am taking it from there till here. Okay, F2 generation. What happens? You are going to write them in all probable combinations. That is capital T, small t. In one line, you have to write this checkerboard, we call it. This is called checkerboard. Okay. One side you are writing the male parents. Okay. Okay. These are the male parents. These are the, anyway it's okay. These are the male, capital T, small t. Here also capital T and small t. This, for writing this kind of table, is called Punnett's checkerboard. Remember the name of this? Punnett's or Punnett's checkerboard, or chi board also they call it, checkerboard. Okay. Now combine them. The capital T carrying pollen grain may fertilize capital T carrying egg. Right? Capital T and capital T. How is this? This is a tall plant in appearance. Always in the checkerboard should be very big. This will be carrying 3 marks for your explanation. Whatever you write, properly you write the big checkerboard. Right? This is in the genotype only. You write in each square you write genotype and phenotype both. Next is capital T and small t. This is because of the presence of capital T. What it will become? It becomes a tall plant again. Right? Now again capital T, small t. Capital T, small t. This becomes a tall plant because capital T always dominates over dwarf, right? Small t. Now last is small t and small t. This small t, small t. This becomes a dwarf plant. Right? So did you get this? This you have to understand and practice this checkerboard, right? But within the checkerboard only you have to write the genotypes and phenotypes both. This is genotype, this is phenotype. Now in the F2 generation, what you have written? There are 4 types of offsprings produced, among them 1, 2, 3, 4. So phenotypically, because the phenotypic ratio of F2 is equal to, how is it? 1, 2, 3. 3 are tall. Tall are 3 is to, how many are dwarf? Dwarf is 1. Dwarf is 1. This is 3:1. It is the phenotypic ratio of F2. Then, if you take the genetics, genes, you can see capital T is there, here capital T, small t, capital T, small t. So, how many are capital T? The pure breeding plants, only one, right? These two are hybrids. Therefore, whenever you write the genotypic ratio, it will be of F2 will be capital T is 1, capital T, small t are 2, small t is 1. That is 1:2:1. Now, let me give you the details of this. This whole checkerboard doesn't mean that only 4 plants are produced. No. Imagine 100 plants are produced. Among them, 75 of them will be tall only, apparent wise tall. Remaining 25 are dwarf. 100% only. Around 75% are tall, 25% are dwarf. That gives you 3:1 ratio. Don't think that only 3 plants or 4 plants are produced. No, it is a ratio I am talking. You are not just growing 1 plant or 4 plants like that. Therefore, here you have to get the ratio. Now, one more thing. I am saying 3 or 75% plants are tall. Imagine the whole of the field. Almost 75% of the plants are totally tall. But how do you distinguish between hybrid talls or pure talls? This is the question actually. This I am writing, you can easily write this. But what about finding out the genotypes in the plants in the field? It's very difficult, right? Very simple. He made, Mendel only gave a solution. How to identify genotypic ratio? Take all these tall plants, whatever tall plants, you allow them for self-pollination. What happens? 25% of them will become capital T, only they produce a tall plant. They are all the pure breeding plants. Remaining are there no 50%, these 50%, when you allow them for self-pollination, they produce again tall and dwarf. What do you mean by that? It is a type of hybrid plant. Therefore, the 50% of these will be hybrids. And when you allow these for self-pollination, they produce only dwarf plants. Right? So, among the tall plants, which are 75% or 3:1 ratio of tall 3, you just allow them for self-pollination, you will get again 25:50:25 totally. Right? Therefore, this is a 1:2:1 ratio. Understood? You have to understand this checkerboard. Then you have to state the law of segregation. How do you define law of segregation? When the hybrid plants produce gametes, okay, because of the heterozygosity of alleles, the 2 alleles get separated during gamete formation. This is called law of segregation. Separation. The 2 alleles separate, segregate. That's law of segregation. This kind of cross, in which we are talking about a single pair of contrasting characters, we call it as a monohybrid cross. The whole thing is monohybrid cross, right? So what is monohybrid? A cross in which single pair of contrasting characters are considered. It is called monohybrid cross. Single pair. Height is the only character with 2 contrasting features, tall and dwarf. Right? Now, let me list all the things what I did till now. First, we took the pure breeding tall crossed with the pure breeding dwarf. Pure breeding refers to those plants that produce on self-pollination same characters. They normally, genetically, they are homozygous in nature. You are going to produce them first. Right? Imagine Mendel collected such plants, 7 different characters he studied, contrasting features. For each one, up to 4 to 6 generations, he allowed them for self-pollination, and to make them pure breeding he waited. Almost they will produce the flowering and all happen in 4 months. 4 months, so many years he wasted only for making them pure breeding. Right? So this is theory come practical. It's not just, okay, plant is looking tall, let me take it as a pure breeding tall. No. You have to allow them for multiple self-pollination by bagging continuously. Then collecting the seeds, growing them. Again, as it starts flowering, put one bag, allow them for self-pollination, take the seeds. Like that, if you do continuously self-pollination, they become pure breeding. They breed true for their character. So once you finish the self-pollinating plants, you take them as parents. One, you have to take tall plant and dwarf plant. You can't take one tall plant with the color. No. Tall plant is the character of height. You have to take its contrasting feature, dwarf plant only. Two parental characters are tall and dwarf, the phenotypic character. Then Mendel assigned certain alphabets for the character and genotypes. Right? What is that? The dominant character he took, he gave the alphabet, capital alphabet, and for the recessive of that he gave a small letter. Right? So when tall and dwarf plants are crossed, their genotype should be capital T for tallness, small t for dwarfness. Why 2 times? Because Mendel explained that every character expression is controlled by unit factor, which is now called a gene. Every gene has 2 pairs, a pair of alleles, not 2 pairs, 2 alleles are a pair of alleles. So if you consider capital T as a tallness, its 2 alleles are capital T, and it is a homozygous character, therefore they are similar. For dwarfness, small t, because it is recessive for tallness. Now, whenever they are producing gametes, there will be meiosis. Therefore, you have to circle the gametes. When you circle the gametes, capital T or the tall plant produce single type of gametes having capital T. You have to circle them. Don't think that only one gamete is produced. One type of hundreds and thousands of gametes are produced. Then for the dwarf plant, small t, only one type of gametes are produced. Now when they undergo fertilization, then the resultant offspring produced is called the F1 hybrid or F1 generation. Then how is F1 hybrid or F1 generation? This normally will be having some superior character compared to the parents, and we call that as a hybrid vigor or heterosis happens. Right? Always heterosis is a common feature. If the parents are distant, then here F1 hybrid is produced. But in F1 hybrids, the character produced by crossing tall and dwarf plant will be again tall only. Why? Because tall character is dominant over dwarf character. Therefore, the resultant F1 hybrids are all tall plants. Right? But what about their genotype? Their genotype is different from the pure breeding tall which you took it in the parental character. What was the parental genotype? That was homozygous. Capital T was the parental genotype. Check if you have written it, because again I don't want to erase it and write it again. Then that was a homozygous character, capital T. But now when the F1 hybrids are produced, their genotype is capital T, small t. This is a F1 hybrid genotype which is having different alleles. Therefore we call it as a heterozygous character. When the 2 alleles differ from each other, it is called heterozygosity, heterozygous plant, heterozygous character. Now, their phenotype is tall. Now, take those F1 plants and self-pollinate them. F1 on self-pollination. Take F1 as a male, F1 as female. If I am writing 2 times, that means this is the male parent, this is the female parent. I mean, this is pollen grain, this is the ova. So then, what was the phenotype? F1 hybrid phenotype was tall, right? I am writing tall and tall, but both of these talls are hybrid talls. They are not pure breeding talls. Therefore, although I am writing tall and tall, this doesn't mean that they are pure breeding. They are hybrid talls. Therefore, I am writing the genotype below. See the genotype. This tall plant is producing hybrid or heterozygous genes, capital T and small t. Here also capital T and small t. Now the question comes. When the pure breeding plants were producing gametes, only one type of gametes they were producing. Like tall plant produce only capital T, all gametes, all the pollen grains. But when these hybrids produce the gametes, the 2 alleles get segregated, although they were together in one whole generation. Right? One whole plant, the seeds were taken, the plant is growing, the whole continuous, the complete growth was together only. But they were not pure. But when they get a chance during gamete formation, they separate. You can see here, separate without getting masked, without influencing each other, they segregate. This is law of segregation. Law of segregation is stated as when the two pure breeding plants are crossed, when the hybrids are produced. When hybrids produce the gametes, the two alleles segregate without masking or affecting each other to form pure gametes. This is law of purity of gametes. There are two gametes, two types of gametes formed, right? Here capital T and small t, here also capital T and small t, right? These are two plants, this is one, this is one. This is the two gamete, this is two gamete. Now, this kind of pollen grain may fertilize this egg, one possibility, or this may fertilize this kind of egg with small t, another possibility. Same way, small t carrying pollen grain may fertilize the egg with capital T, or small t carrying pollen grain may fertilize with the egg carrying small t. This is the possibility. How do we represent? There was a kind of square board given in which you have to write the same way. It was named as Punnett's checkerboard, Punnett's chi-square also we call it. To represent the F2 generation, we have to use Punnett's checkerboard or Punnett's checkerboard also they call it. Okay, write the gametes 1, 2, 1, 2 with one side male gametes, one side female gametes. Circle the gametes, very important, circle the gametes. Now, all probable combinations. Capital T fertilized with capital T, capital T, capital T, tall. Capital T with small t, tall. Again, capital T and small t, small, tall. Small t, dwarf. Means phenotypically in F2 there are tall plants 3 and dwarf 1, 3:1 ratio. It doesn't mean that 3 and 1. It means that 75:35, 25%. Then genotypically this is capital T homozygous. These two are heterozygous, capital T, small t is homozygous. Therefore, it is 1:2:1 ratio. Thus, 25:50:25%. That is how you have to remember. I want you to try now, write the whole thing starting from P1, F1, F1 gametes, state the law and write the F2 with checkerboard. This is your work now to do, right? This you have to work, otherwise you will not get. By reading you will not understand. 100% I tell you, you will not get it, right? Every time while writing, so many times gamete formation, most of the students will write wrong gametes. If you write the parental gametes wrong, then F1, F2 we are not bothered, we are not checking. I am just going to strike it off because you don't know the basic theme. If you don't know the theme, then whatever you write is waste. So you have to practice from P1, the gametes, the F1, where phenotype, genotype, F1 cell pollination, phenotype, genotype of F1, crossing, then the gamete formation, law of segregation or law of purity of gametes, because gametes are pure, other parents are impure. Then in F2, you have to write a checkerboard and show phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. This checkerboard only will carry 2.5 to 3 marks. Write a big checkerboard, half a page you should write. So when we start again, I will check them, right? And I told you in the previous class also, and in the video also, whenever you do this homework and all, you take a pic and send me, right? Hardly 1 or 2 people are sending, other are either not watching or don't want to care about this. So this is not good on your part, right? Whenever I say do something, it is for your good, right? Do it and take a pic and send me. I may say, okay, you are done or not, at least I will get confirmation that you are writing it, right? Even when we start again, I am going to revise a bit, but still, this is in detail explanation I am giving you. You will have to work out. Sitting at home, there is no use. Write and make the time which is useful to you for the future. Okay? So, write this. For this, you have 5 mark question. State the first law of Mendel. This is the first law of Mendel, law of segregation, with an illustration. Till here you have to complete it. Okay? So, I want you to write it now. Okay, I hope you have done it, right? What I told you is the complete monohybrid cross, how to start with P1, how to end with F2 phenotypic and genotypic ratio. Okay. Now, one thing, after he did all these crosses, then he considered all other characters, around 7 different pair of contrasting characters he studied. All those 7 characters you are supposed to remember, and that will be a 2-mark question to you. Apart from all the terms I gave you. What are the terms? Let me list them off. First term, pure breeding plants or pure breeding characters, homozygosity, heterozygosity, unit factor, alleles, dominance, recessiveness, then the F1 generation, gametic generation, alleles. These all I have explained you. Now, we will now want even about emasculation, bagging, all of it. Okay. Now we will move on to the next part. Imagine like this, you are crossing and taking some hybrids, right? So most of us what we use right now are hybrids only. But what happens by using continuously hybrids for a long time and selecting only for the color and other things, the original wild characters get lost. Means imagine one particular character you are selecting like wheat for its white color, wheat dough you are selecting continuously. After some days it loses its stickiness also. That time what the plant breeders will do is they take the local varieties and cross with the parents which were there in wild, original parents, they cross them. This kind of cross is called back cross. Now I will give something about the back cross. So back cross was given by Mendel, right? According to Mendel, crossing the F1 hybrids. So this F1 hybrid I am crossing with any one of the parent is called as a back cross, right? So how to define back cross? It's crossing the F1 hybrids with any of their parents. That's called back cross, backing the cross, right? Then what it will have? It will have 2 types of crosses. One is F1 cross with the dominant parent, and second one is F1 cross with the recessive parent. Okay. Now F1 with dominant character, if you take the same tall and dwarf plant, F1 hybrids are phenotypically what I told you, phenotype F1 is tall plant. What about the dominant parent? It is tall. But this is hybrid tall, this is F1 tall, this will be genotypically, genotype will be capital T, small t, and this is capital T, right? Now whenever the gametes are formed, this capital T and small t will segregate due to law of segregation. This will produce single type of gametes, capital T. Now instead of writing checkerboard, you can cross also. Take this capital T may fertilize with this capital T, it becomes tall. Then these two will fertilize capital T, small t, it becomes again tall. So if you cross F1 hybrids with the tall parent, then you are going to produce or you are going to get all tall plants. But what happens if I cross F1 with the recessive parent? That I will show you in detail now. So both are back crosses only, but this back cross you need to understand more, right? What is that another F1 back cross I told you? With any parent I told you. Second cross is F1 plant with the recessive parent you are crossing. Recessive parent, how is it? F1 phenotype again I will write here. How is the phenotype of F1? It is tall plant. Okay. The recessive parent is dwarf, right? So this is dwarf plant. How is the genotype of this? Genotype of F1 is capital T, small t, because it is hybrid I told you. Then see, only when you understand thoroughly monohybrid cross you can follow this. Otherwise if you want to take this also tall, that is also tall, why capital T, small t? Because I am saying capital T, small t because it is F1 plant. It's a hybrid. Cross with the dwarf plant, small t, right? Now, gametes when you write, 2 types of gametes over here, capital T one time, small t another time. Here, small t only one time. This fertilization, capital T, small t results in tall plants. This cross, small t results in dwarf plant. What is the ratio? 1:1. Here all 100% are tall, here it is 1:1 ratio. So this is a very important thing you can Understand? Because whenever F1 hybrids, you are crossing with the recessive parent, there is a formation of the dominant and recessive plants in 1:1 ratio. That means this is the type of backcross in which you can identify whether the dominant plant which you have got is a hybrid or not. Imagine you have got one tall plant 6 feet height. And how do I identify is it a pure breeding or it's a hybrid? Right? That time simple thing is you have to take one dwarf and cross it. Because dwarf is always dominant, it is always homozygous. Dwarf is not having anything which is mixed character. Always it is recessive, it will be homozygous. So take it and cross with the dwarf plant. And if you get 1:1 ratio of tall and dwarf character, that simply means the plant what you have taken was a hybrid. This helps in identifying the hybrid character of the dominant plant. Therefore, we call this kind of cross as the test cross. Very important, 2 mark or 3 mark questions they will ask you. What is a test cross? Right? So, this is not test cross, that is test cross. Why? Because test cross, how do you define? Test cross is a type of backcross in which F1 hybrid is crossed with the recessive parent, resulting in dominant and recessive characters produced in 1:1 ratio, indicating the plant taken was a hybrid. It is a confirmation test for the dominant plant as a hybrid. Right? This is very simple thing. So now I will give you one question. You can solve it based on this. Imagine Mendel selected tall and dwarf plants. Then it gave rise to around first generation. I am saying tall and dwarf plants. In first generation it produced all tall, and second generation it produced around 75% to 25%. Then identify the phenotype and genotype of parents. Means what I told you is a monohybrid cross. Right? Imagine another question I give you. This kind of genetic questions will appear in examination. When Mendel crossed tall and dwarf plants, in the next generation, totally around 1000 plants were produced. Among 1000 plants, around 420 were tall and around 412 were dwarf. Identify the phenotype and genotype of the parents. This is the question to think, right? So this I will give you as a question, as a homework to you, right? So what I am explaining, so this is one of the genetic problem. So remember, such genetic problems keep appearing in NEET or regular exam also. So what I said, Mendel selected tall plant and dwarf plant, crossed them, and in the next generation, among 1000 plants or among 1000 plants, should be 1000 plants, or sometimes I will write you 950 plants, or just write 1000 plants, around 50% I am saying, it is around 420 are tall and 450 are dwarf. Identify the genotype of parents. Genotype of the parents. So this is a tricky question, right? Actually, tall and dwarf when you cross, if it is a pure breeding plant, you should get all tall plants only. I am saying although he is crossing tall and dwarf, he is getting 420 tall, 450 dwarf. Among 1000, some would have dead, some would have not produced flowers. You should not get in any living things, you will not get 100%, okay, this is the ratio, this is the number. No, numbers may vary. Therefore, some of the plants, they did not count also, it was like this, right? What will be the genotype of the parents? So, what you have to do is, you should take the approximate ratio of the generation. This will give you approximately 1:1 ratio. That means, parents where the tall plant was not totally pure breeding, it must be hybrid. Therefore, offsprings are produced in 1:1 ratio. It is almost in 1:1 ratio. Therefore, this must be a test cross in which the tall plant is a hybrid crossed with the dwarf plant producing 1:1 ratio. This is how you get the questions on genetics in this unit. Okay, I hope you understood. I want you to understand thoroughly. This kind of questions are, lot of questions are there in your board paper, also in your NEET paper. Go through them. Okay. Now, I will give you the total 7 different contrasting features that were studied by Mendel. Okay. So, 7 contrasting characters studied by Mendel in pea plants. Okay, that's what I am going to give you. Right? First, I will write the character. Then, what is dominant? What is recessive? Okay. So, first character I will give you. Character number 1. First character I will give you. First character is about the height of the plant. See, I am saying height. Right? What is dominant in height? Tallness is dominant over dwarfness. So written by capital T. Okay. Here recessive character is dwarf. It is small t. Okay. This is known already. Second feature is about the color of the flower. So flower character, it is a purple flower. P is dominant over white flower, that is small p. The first character, what I explained you, it is about the height, which we already discussed one example. Height of the plant, tall character is dominant over dwarf, right? This is the first character. Now next is, tall is written as capital T, dwarf is written as small t, because tall is dominant over dwarf. Always you should take the same letter in its the smaller form, right? This is a capital letter, this will be small letter. Small letter indicates it is recessive. Capital letter indicates it is dominant, right? Second is color of the flower, right? Normally the purplish red flowers are seen. If you have seen the plant, that is pea plant, purplish color flowers are there. Always those purple flowers are dominant over white flowers. We should represent capital P for the purple color because it is dominant, and small p, whenever you write small p, you show a small tail or something like that, small p. Sometimes some of the books are given red and white also, right? Purplish red we call it, or violet also we call it. Some of the books are given violet flowers also, yeah? So if you write violet flowers, then you take capital V, right? Or red, capital R. But anyway, this color purple color is true color for them. Then come to the pod. What is pod now? Pod is nothing but the type of fruit. Normally, pod, if you have not heard previously, I would like to give you, pod is a type of leguminous fruit. So what is a leguminous fruit? Leguminous fruit is a fruit in which the fruit will have, it develops from monocarpellary, syncarpous superior ovary, and ovules are arranged on the marginal placentation. This fruit we call it as a legume fruit. It's a leguminous fruit, right? Normally, leguminous fruits are very long. It is around 10 to 12 or 15 seeds. So they will not be so small, they will be long, somewhat like this, right? This is a legume fruit. But when you talk about pod, it is the short legume is called pod. Means the pod is the one having hardly 2 to 3 fruits, right? This can be called as the pod. So this is legume, this is the pod. Therefore the word pod is used to represent the fruit of pea plant. So fruit of pea is pod. I am saying first is the pod type or the shape of the pod. The first character is inflated character. Inflated refers to, you can see the fruit will have the flat outer covering. No constrictions are seen. This is called inflated character. Inflated pod is dominant over the constricted pod is like this. There will be number of constrictions like you have seen tur dal, green gram dal and all. Outside only there will be some constriction seen. That is seen as a the recessive character in P. Normally there will be inflated pods. Therefore inflated is dominant over the constricted pod. Next comes the color of the pod, means outer covering, color of the pod. Pod, when I say it is a young fruit when it is young, the green color will be there on the pod, that is dominant with the capital G as a genotype, and yellow is the recessive character with a small g. That is, yellow is recessive to the green colored pod. Then comes the seed color, seed shape. Seed shape is each seed you take, pea seeds, they will be almost round and smooth will be there. The outer covering will be very smooth. So I am writing smooth, means this is the seed I am writing, it is smooth seed, like this it will be. This is smooth seed coat, or we can call it seed coat, or seed shape, or seed coat also we can call it. Seed coat will be smooth in the pea plant, which is dominant over the wrinkled seed coat, means like this. The seed will be like this, but it will be having small wrinkles all around it. This is a wrinkled seed coat. It is recessive to smooth one, right? Then come to seed color. Seed coat, what color? Whenever you observe the color of the seed coat in mature condition, there will be greyish yellow, yellowish grey in color. So I write it as a yellow color. Capital Y is dominant over the green seeds. You know, so in market, green mature seeds are very less and they are costly also. Why are they costly? Because the green mature seeds are recessive in nature. They will not be always produced. Therefore, always produced ones are yellowish ones. Yellowish one, whatever you get pea seeds, they are yellowish in color, yellowish grey, right? But seeds which are green is a recessive character. Then next is about the position of the flower. Whenever you observe the pea, you can see here the pea will be having the leaves like this, right? And there will be terminal leaflets are into tendrils also. Here some of them will be tendrils. You will see upper terminal leaflets are tendrils like this, right? But now I want to tell you about the bud, flower buds. Suppose that the nodal region they grow here, these are called the axillary buds. At the tip, those who are growing, they are called as the terminal buds. Those which are growing at the axillary bud, converting to flower, is dominant character over those which are present as a terminal bud turning into flowers. Therefore, the position of the flower bud, axillary buds into flower position, becoming flower is dominant over the terminal buds which are going to form the flower is a recessive character. Therefore, axillary buds are dominant over the terminal buds. These are the total 7 characters given by Mendel in pea plant. And one thing you remember, no other character you have to write in pea plants other than these 7 characters, neither leaf nor the shape of the leaf, nothing you write, only these 7 characters. No other characters in pea plants follow Mendelian inheritance. Keep it in mind properly. Now, apart from this, don't think the same character will be or same laws are followed by other plants also. Imagine a red flowered hibiscus, you are taking white flowered hibiscus, crossing, expecting red flowers is not possible, because in pea plants, characters are controlled by one pair of allele. In other plants, it's not so. Many pair of alleles control a single character. In human skin, you imagine black color skin or white color skin is because of melanin pigmentation. Melanin pigmentation is controlled by hundreds of alleles. Therefore, don't follow or don't apply whatever Mendel has given like dominant and recessive to any other character than pea plants, that too for only these 7 characters in pea plants. So this you put in mind properly, right? Never ever, so many times I have seen people will be now forgetting pea plant, writing rose plant. Rose plant though you should never write, because rose plant is a vegetatively propagated plant. Don't apply sexual reproduction to that. Then apart from that, now I will give you some homework. There are few characters in humans follow Mendelian laws, right? One I will give, another you can identify. One character is about the eye color in humans. Not Indian eye colors, the lens color what we are getting. Indian eye colors are either black or dark brown or something like that. I am not talking about the Indian eye color, I am talking about the Western people. Total brown eyes are dominating over the blue eye color. Okay, like that you can write in humans. If there is a marriage between brown-eyed man with a blue-eyed woman, or vice versa, means brown-eyed woman and the blue-eyed man, the children produced will be always having brown eyes, right? Then when the brown-eyed girls, when they grow up and they get married to another brown-eyed man, then in next their children will be having the ratio of 3:1, in the sense every time the female is producing the child, 75% she have the probability of having brown-eyed child, 25% she has the probability of having blue eyes. Don't think that 4 children produced, 3 will be like this, 1 will be like this. No, right? Keep this in mind. It is a probability. Whenever the brown and brown-eyed people get married, they produce children. The child produced with brown-eyed character is 75% possibility or probability. The blue-eyed character, it is 25% probability. Therefore, they may have a child with either brown-eyed or blue-eyed. For simple example, in a box I put 3 red balls and 1 white ball. Closing your eyes, taking out the the red ball, what is the probability? I can take the red ball, 75% possibility. Or if I take the white ball, it is 25% probability. It's a probability. Understand probability, right? That's how these ratios also are done. Okay? I hope you have got it properly. Go through some of the genetic problems, solve some more, and identify which are the characters in humans follow Mendelian inheritance, Mendelian characters. Okay, I want this question to be answered by you. Only few people are answering. Now all of you try to answer. Refer some books, refer any other extra readings and give me the answers. Okay, so this is the first class on genetics, on Mendel's inheritance, laws of Mendel, that is Mendelian inheritance. Principles of Mendel, all are same. Okay, so I hope you got this properly, and I want you to work on this, because this is like mathematics, it's a scoring subject. Okay, done then. See you in the next class.